The gun felt cold against Favour's temple. Cola's breath was hot on her neck, his voice dripping poison. You humiliated me. Now everyone you love pays. Across the warehouse, Joon-Ho stood with his weapon trained steady, his eyes locked on the man holding his son. Min-Jae's terrified face turned toward Favour, tears streaming, and her heart shattered. This was her fault. The violence she'd run from had caught them all. But then Joon-Ho's voice cut through her panic, steady as stone, I've got you. Trust me. And despite everything, the lies, the blood, the impossible odds, she did. She trusted him with everything she had left. Welcome to Afro-Seoul Stories. Please like, share, and hit that subscribe button for more. 3 weeks earlier, Favour had believed in second chances. The classroom smelled like crayons and promise. 23 children sat at their desks, some focused on their work, others whispering and giggling the way 7-year-olds do when they think the teacher isn't watching. Favour moved between the rows with practiced grace, her voice gentle as she helped a girl sound out a difficult word. This was her sanctuary. These walls. These innocent faces. This simple, clean life she'd built from ashes and desperate prayers. Then Min-Jae walked through her classroom door. The boy was small for 7, with serious dark eyes that held shadows no child should carry. His features were a beautiful blend of Korean and heritage, delicate and striking all at once. His school uniform was pressed to perfection, his backpack clearly expensive, but his shoulders sagged under invisible weight. At lunch, 3 boys circled him like sharks scenting blood. Favour saw it from across the playground, recognized the predatory stance, the cruel anticipation in their postures. Your food smells weird, the tallest boy announced, his voice deliberately loud enough for everyone nearby to hear. Min-Jae stared down at his lunchbox. Rice and kimchi and bulgogi, each item packed with obvious care and love. His small hands trembled as they gripped his spoon. It's not weird, he said softly, his accent thick, each word carefully formed. Yeah it is, another boy chimed in. It smells like something died. Laughter erupted around them, sharp and cutting as broken glass. Min-Jae's face flushed deep red, his eyes dropping to his lap as shame washed over his features. Favour was there in 3 long strides. That's enough. Her voice wasn't loud, but something in it made the boys step back immediately. She'd learned that gift in rooms far more dangerous than any school playground. Back to your tables. Now. They scattered like leaves in a sudden wind. She knelt beside Min-Jae, bringing herself to eye level. Your lunch looks absolutely delicious. My grandmother used to make kimchi when I was your age. I miss it every single day. Min-Jae looked up slowly, his eyes wet but determined not to cry. Hope flickered across his young face. Really? Really? And those boys? They don't know what they're missing. Good food is good food, no matter where it comes from. She smiled warmly. Tomorrow, we're having a cultural lunch party. Everyone brings a dish from their heritage. No jokes. No meanness. Just learning about each other. For the first time since arriving at Gateway Primary School, Min-Jae smiled. Small and tentative, but absolutely real. After school ended, Favour found Min-Jae sitting alone on the front steps. His posture was patient, resigned, like waiting while everyone else was wanted and collected was just as normal. Want some help with your homework? She offered, settling beside him on the warm concrete. He nodded eagerly, pulling out his workbook with careful hands. They worked through math problems and English reading exercises together. She was endlessly patient, never making him feel stupid when he struggled. Just explaining differently until understanding would suddenly click in his eyes like light breaking through storm clouds. 20 minutes later, a black Mercedes pulled smoothly to the curb. The car was sleek and powerful and expensive in a way that made Favour's carefully cultivated instincts prickle with warning. The man who stepped out moved like water, smooth, purposeful, controlled. Joon-Ho wore his charcoal suit like armor, every line tailored to perfection. His presence commanded attention without any visible effort, the kind of quiet, absolute power that came from never needing to prove anything. But his entire face transformed when he saw his son. All that coiled tension melted away instantly, replaced by pure, unguarded love. Min-Jae. His voice carried joy and relief in equal measure. The boy jumped up and ran to his father with complete trust. Joon-Ho caught him easily, lifting him off the ground and spinning him once before setting him down with gentle care. Then his eyes found Favour. The impact was immediate and electric. Something shifted in the air between them, a recognition that had nothing to do with names or faces and everything to do with souls calling to each other across impossible distance. He approached, and Favour stood quickly, suddenly hyper-aware of how she must look after a full day with energetic children. "You must be Miss Favour." His English was flawless, his accent soft and almost musical. "Thank you so much for staying late with him. He's a wonderful student. Very bright, very kind. He's been having trouble with the other children." Pain flickered across Joon-Ho's handsome face. "I know. We're working on it together. I think things will get better very soon." She smiled with genuine confidence. They talked for several minutes about Min-Jae's progress, about the cultural lunch party she was planning, about how difficult it was to be new in a country where everything felt foreign. But beneath the ordinary conversation, something else hummed between them. A pull. A want. A dangerous recognition. Joon-Ho kept glancing at her while they talked, his gaze lingering on her face like he was trying to memorize every detail. "Thank you," he said finally, his voice carrying weight far beyond those simple words. "Really? It means absolutely everything that someone cares about him the way you obviously do." "That's my job," she replied, but they both knew immediately it was already far more than that. She watched them drive away together, father and son, and felt something terrifying and wonderful bloom in her chest. Something she'd sworn 5 years ago never to feel again. Hope. Dangerous, fragile, beautiful hope. The cultural lunch party the next day was pure magic. Min-Jae brought his father's homemade bulgogi, and every single child in the class asked for seconds. Even the boys who'd mocked him came back 3 times, sheepish and completely converted. Min-Jae absolutely glowed with pride and belonging. Favour caught movement at the classroom door during the celebration. Joon-Ho stood in the hallway, having arrived 30 minutes early, quietly watching his son be celebrated. When their eyes met across the room full of children and laughter, he mouthed 2 words that made her heart skip several beats. "Thank you." She felt something complicated and warm twist in her chest. Something that felt dangerously, impossibly like falling. 1 week later, Joon-Ho lingered after the other parents had collected their children. His hands were shoved in his pockets, his normally confident posture showing hints of nervousness. "I know this might be inappropriate," he started, then paused. "But would you be interested in coffee sometime? To discuss Min-Jae's progress, of course." Favour hesitated, her practiced caution warring with the pull she felt toward this man and his sweet son. "Okay," she said, and watched his entire face light up like sunrise. They met 2 days later at a small cafe in Victoria Island, all mismatched vintage chairs and local art. Favour arrived first, watching Lagos move past in all its chaotic beauty. Normal people living normal lives. She still didn't quite know what that felt like. Joon-Ho arrived exactly on time. He'd changed into dark jeans and a simple black shirt. He looked younger like this, less guarded. His smile when he spotted her was warm enough to melt something frozen inside her chest. They talked for 3 straight hours. About Min-Jae at first, but then about everything else. About how he'd come to Nigeria 3 years ago for business and decided to stay. About how hard it was to construct a life from nothing in a country where you'd always be seen as foreign. Min-Jae's mother, he said quietly, staring into his coffee cup. She died when he was 3 years old. Crossfire during a business dispute. Wrong place, catastrophically wrong time. She was just buying groceries. I'm so sorry. Favour reached across the table instinctively, covered his hand with hers. I promised her, right there in the hospital, that I'd keep him safe no matter what it cost me. Give him a better life than what we had. He turned his hand under hers so their palms touched. That's why we're here in Lagos. Fresh start. New beginning. Favour understood about fresh starts more than he could possibly know. About running from blood and violence. About trying desperately to scrub yourself clean and become someone entirely new. What about you? He asked, his thumb tracing small circles on her palm. What's your story? Not much to tell, really. She pulled her hand back carefully. Grew up here in Lagos. Went to university. Became a teacher. That's it. No dreams. No adventures. His eyes searched her face, clearly seeing more than she wanted to show. She smiled, but it didn't quite reach her eyes. I like simple these days. Simple is safe. Coffee became their routine. Every Wednesday after school without fail. Sometimes Min-Jae joined them, and those afternoons became secretly her favorite times. Watching Joon-Ho with his son. The way he listened when Min-Jae talked, giving the child his complete attention. The way he cut sandwiches into perfect squares because that's how Min-Jae liked them. The way he knew instinctively when to step in and when to let his son handle things independently. He was genuinely the best father she'd ever witnessed. Patient and present and completely devoted. The kind of man she'd honestly thought didn't exist anymore. On a warm evening 6 weeks after they'd first met, Joon-Ho asked her to dinner. Real dinner, he specified. Just the two of them. Somewhere nice and special. She hesitated, old fears rising like ghosts. Coffee was safe. Dinner meant something else entirely. Dinner meant intention, romance, crossing lines that couldn't be uncrossed. But part of her desperately wanted to be the kind of person who said yes to dinner with a good man. I'd like that, she said, and watched joy transform his features. He picked her up on Saturday evening wearing a perfectly tailored suit. He brought yellow roses, her favorite, though she'd never mentioned it. You look absolutely beautiful, he said, his voice dropping lower, going softer in a way that made every word feel like a caress. They drove through Lagos as the sun set spectacularly, painting the sky in vivid shades of orange and pink and purple. Away from her modest neighborhood, deeper into the heart of the city where buildings grew progressively taller and money flowed like an endless river. Where are we going? She asked, watching the neighborhoods change outside her window. A friend recommended this place. He insists it's the absolute best spot in the city. Very exclusive, very authentic. I wanted to impress you properly. He glanced at her with a small, slightly nervous smile. Her stomach dropped slightly, instincts prickling with warning, but she forced herself not to say anything. Maybe it would be fine. Maybe nobody would recognize her after 5 full years. People forgot. They moved on. Please, she prayed silently, let them have moved on. They pulled up to an elegant building with red lacquered doors and no visible sign. The kind of exclusive establishment you had to know about to find. A valet appeared immediately, taking Joon-Ho's keys with a respectful nod that suggested he knew exactly who Joon-Ho was. Inside, the restaurant was absolutely stunning. Dark mahogany wood and silk screens dividing the space into intimate sections. The rich smell of suya and jollof and egusi filled the air. The sound of Yoruba and Igbo and Pidgin mixing at every table. Joon-Ho held her hand as they walked toward their reserved table. His palm was warm against hers, steady and solid. For one perfect moment, she let herself believe this could actually work. Then she saw them. 2 men in expensive traditional agbadas at a corner table. They looked up casually as she entered, their faces going through rapid transformation. Confusion. Recognition. Shock. Fear. One man stood so violently fast his chair tipped backward, clattering loudly on the floor. "No," she whispered, her hand going ice cold in Joon-Ho's warm grip. "No, no, no. What's wrong?" Joon-Ho asked immediately. But she couldn't answer. Because more people were looking now. Heads turning like dominoes falling. Whispers spreading like wildfire. A woman at the bar dropped her glass. It shattered on the marble floor, deep red liquid spreading like fresh blood, and in the ringing silence that followed, absolutely everyone stared. At her. Only at her. An elderly man near the kitchen stood slowly, his weathered face carved from stone and secrets. He bowed formally. Deep and respectful, the kind of bow reserved exclusively for royalty. Then every single person in the restaurant did exactly the same. 20 people. 40. 60. Every man, woman, and staff member bowing to her like she was a queen, like she was power personified. Joon-Ho's grip on her hand remained perfectly steady. He didn't flinch, didn't look remotely confused. His eyes swept the room once with practiced ease, calm and assessing, reading the situation with fluid competence. His other hand moved subtly to rest possessively at the small of her back. Protective. Claiming. Unmistakably stating ownership. The crowd parted smoothly down the exact center. Through the gap came a man who moved like he personally owned not just the restaurant but the entire city. Kola was exceptionally tall and broad-shouldered, wearing an immaculately tailored white agbada with intricate gold embroidery. His shoes were Italian leather. His watch was Patek Philippe. Everything about him screamed wealth and power. His eyes were locked on Favour with an intensity that made her skin crawl. He stopped directly in front of her, close enough that she could smell his expensive cologne. He smiled slowly. It was cold as Arctic ice. Favour. Her real name in his mouth felt like violation. "It's been far, far too long, my love." Joon-Ho stepped forward smoothly, placing himself between them with a movement so natural it looked choreographed. His entire energy shifted dramatically, something dangerous and predatory sliding into place behind his dark eyes. "You're in my way," Kola said, his practiced smile freezing at the edges. "I know." Joon-Ho's voice was extraordinarily quiet. The kind of dangerous quiet that made genuinely smart people very nervous. "That's entirely the point." Kola's eyes narrowed as he really looked at Joon-Ho for the first time. Something flickered across his arrogant face. Recognition maybe. Or the first whisper of genuine concern. "Who exactly are you? Someone you really don't want to fuck with." Joon-Ho's tone was almost conversational. Which somehow made the threat infinitely more effective. The restaurant had gone completely, utterly silent. Kola recovered his composure with visible effort. He looked deliberately past Joon-Ho to Favour. "Did you tell him, my dear? About us? About your distinguished father? About what you really are under all this teacher pretense?" Favour's voice came out stronger than she felt. "There is no us. There never was. There never will be. We're engaged, Favour. Have been formally engaged since you were 19 years old. The contract was signed by both our fathers. Properly witnessed. Completely legal." His voice hardened noticeably. "You're mine. You've always been mine. A contract I never personally agreed to. That I never signed myself. That I never wanted." Kola's expression darkened dramatically, his handsome face turning genuinely ugly with rage. "You humiliated me publicly. Ran away on our wedding day like a coward. Made me look like a complete fool in front of both our families, in front of the entire organization. That ends tonight. You're coming home with me." He reached confidently for her arm. Joon-Ho caught his wrist mid-motion. Fast as a striking cobra, his grip clearly iron-hard despite appearing almost casual. Kola's face went absolutely white, his mouth opening in shock and sudden pain. She said no. Joon-Ho's voice was pure silk wrapped tight around steel. Or do you genuinely not understand that simple word? Should I explain it in smaller terms you might comprehend? Kola's bodyguards moved forward immediately. 3 large men in dark suits, hands disappearing inside their jackets toward weapons. Joon-Ho didn't even glance in their direction. His eyes stayed locked on Kola's face with pure predatory focus. "Tell your dogs to sit down now," he said with dangerous softness. "Before this situation gets very ugly very quickly." "You clearly don't know who you're dealing with," Kola started, trying desperately to pull his wrist free. Kim Joon-Ho. Seoul family. Currently operating throughout West Africa with primary focus on shipping routes from Busan to Lagos. His smile was cold enough to freeze blood solid. "I personally control approximately 40% of all container traffic moving through Tin Can Island port. Does any of that ring even small bells for you?" Kola's face went from angry red to pale white in the space of a single heartbeat. "You're the Korean. The one from Seoul. I've heard." "Yes. So unless you actively want an international incident that will cost both our organizations millions of dollars and draw extremely unwanted attention from authorities we'd all collectively prefer to avoid, I very strongly suggest you step back. Right now." For one long, suspended moment, absolutely nobody moved. Then Kola stepped back slowly, cradling his wrist protectively, but his eyes promised murder and vengeance. "This isn't over, Favour. Not even close. Your father will hear about this. About you. About him." He gestured at Joon-Ho with barely controlled fury. "And trust me completely, Chief Adeyemi will have very strong thoughts about his precious daughter whoring herself to foreign trash." Joon-Ho moved so fast Favour barely tracked the motion. 1 second he was standing still, the next his hand was wrapped firmly around Kola's throat, lifting him slightly onto his toes. "Choose your next words extremely carefully," Joon-Ho said, his voice deadly calm. "Because they might very well be your last ones." "Joon-Ho." Favour touched his arm gently. "Please. Let's just go." For a terrible moment, she genuinely thought he wouldn't listen. His jaw was tight, his eyes burning with cold fury. But then he released Kola, who stumbled backward gasping. "Tell Chief Adeyemi I sincerely look forward to our inevitable conversation," Joon-Ho said with dangerous pleasantness. He guided Favour toward the exit with confident authority. Nobody tried to stop them. They parted like water flowing around dangerous rocks. Outside in the parking lot, the humid Lagos night wrapped around them. Favour pulled away from him, stumbling back several steps. "You knew." Her voice shook. "Everyone bowed to me and you weren't even surprised." "I was surprised. But I wasn't going to let that man disrespect you. I wasn't going to let him touch you. How did you know what to do? How did you know how to handle him like that? I've dealt with powerful men before. In business. I know how to stand my ground." It wasn't a lie, but it wasn't the full truth either. She was crying now, the tears coming fast. "Everyone I get close to gets hurt. My father will come for me now. He'll hurt you. He'll hurt Min-Jae. This is exactly what I was afraid of. Hey." He pulled her close, held her tight against his chest. "I'm not going anywhere. Do you hear me? I'm not running. I'm not scared of your father or Kola or anyone else. You don't understand what he's capable of. Then tell me. Help me understand." He cupped her face gently, making her look at him. "But I promise you, Favour, I'm not leaving you. Whatever comes, we face it together." "Why? Why would you risk everything for me? For someone with my past?" "Because I love you." The words came out simple, honest, absolute. "Because Min-Jae loves you. Because you're worth fighting for. Worth protecting." Worth everything. Her breath caught. Nobody had ever said those words to her before. Not like this. Joon-Ho. Fresh tears spilled down her cheeks. I don't know if I can protect you from what's coming. From who my father is. You don't have to protect me. Let me protect you. He kissed her forehead softly. Just don't run from me. Don't disappear. Stay. Fight with me. She nodded slowly against his chest, letting herself believe for one moment that maybe this could work. Why did you leave? He asked finally. Your father's world. What happened that made you run? She'd never told anyone the full story. Never put it into words. But standing here in the dark with this man who was both stranger and sanctuary, the words came. When I was 17, my father made me watch an execution. A rival who'd betrayed him. He said I needed to learn the family business, understand what real power looked like. Her voice was flat, emotionless. The only way she could get through it. The man begged. Pleaded. Had a family, children, all of that. My father shot him anyway. Made it last. Made it hurt. Joon-Ho said nothing, just listened. When I was 18, there was another traitor. Someone who'd stolen from us. My father put a gun in my hand. She looked at her palm, could still feel the weight of it. Told me to prove my loyalty. To show I was worthy of being his heir. To become what he'd raised me to be. What did you do? I froze. The man was begging, crying. But it was his daughter that broke me. She was hiding in the corner. Maybe 6 years old. Just watching. Screaming for her daddy. Her eyes, Favor's voice cracked. I can still see her face. Hear her screaming. It never stops. Favour. I dropped the gun. Told my father I couldn't do it. He was furious. Called me weak. Pathetic. A disgrace to the family name. Tears streamed down her face now. He did it himself. Right in front of her. Right in front of me. And that little girl, she looked at me like I could save her. Like I could stop it. But I didn't. I just stood there. Joon-Ho moved around the counter, pulled her into his arms. She didn't resist. Just collapsed against his chest and let herself break. That's when I knew I had to leave. I couldn't be that person. Couldn't participate in that world anymore. I couldn't, she sobbed. I became a teacher because maybe if I save enough children, protect enough children, maybe I can make up for that one child I couldn't save. Maybe I can sleep again someday. You were 18 years old, Joon-Ho said softly, his hand rubbing soothing circles on her back. A child yourself. Your father put you in an impossible position. What happened to that little girl isn't your fault. It feels like it is. I know. But it's not. He pulled back to look at her face. You're one of the most genuinely good people I've ever met. The way you care for your students, the way you protected Min-Jae, the way you fight to be better than where you came from. That's who you are. Not what your father tried to make you. Take me home, she whispered. I need time to think. Okay. But Favour? He waited until she looked up at him. I meant what I said. I love you. That doesn't change no matter what happens next. She didn't say it back. Couldn't yet. But she held his hand all the way home. When they reached her apartment, he walked her to the door. Will you be okay? He asked softly. I don't know, she answered honestly. But thank you. For tonight. For standing up for me. Always. He kissed her forehead once more, gentle and reverent. Get some rest. We'll figure this out together. She watched him drive away before going inside. Sat on her couch in the dark for a long time, his words replaying in her mind. I love you. Nobody had ever fought for her like that. But could she let herself love him back? Could she risk his life and Min-Jae's life by staying in their orbit? She fell asleep on the couch with those questions unanswered. The next morning came too quickly. Min-Jae bounced into class as usual, his smile bright when he saw her. "Auntie Favour. My dad said you had a nice dinner." She managed a smile. "We did, sweetheart. Very nice." He was happy this morning. Really happy. He made extra pancakes and everything. Min-Jae beamed. "I think he really, really likes you." Her heart squeezed. This child. This beautiful, innocent child. "I really like him too," she said truthfully. "And I really like you." "Does that mean you'll be around forever? Like, as my new mom?" The question hit her hard. "Let's just take things one day at a time, okay?" That evening, she drove to his compound to retrieve her phone she'd left in his car. The guard waved her through. Joon-Ho answered the door in casual clothes, jeans and a simple t-shirt, looking more relaxed than she'd ever seen him. "Min-Jae just fell asleep," he said softly. "Come in. The car's in the garage." "Your phone should be in the glove compartment," he said, opening the garage door for her. Car's unlocked. She walked to the passenger side, opened the door. Searched between the seats first. Nothing. Checked the center console. Empty except for sunglasses and mints. Then she opened the glove compartment. And her entire world stopped. A gun. Black. Heavy. Unmistakably real. Not a small pistol. A serious weapon. Her hands began to shake violently. The glove compartment door slipped from her fingers. Suddenly she was 18 again. Her father's gun in her hand. The man begging for mercy. The little girl screaming in the corner. Blood spreading across white marble. She stumbled backward, gasping, her vision tunneling. "Did you find?" Joon-Ho's voice cut off sharply as he came around the car and saw her face. Saw what she was staring at. "Favour. What is that?" Her voice came out strangled. "Why do you have a gun?" He moved to close the glove compartment, but she held up a hand. "Don't. Just tell me why." "It's for protection." "Protection?" A hysterical laugh escaped her. "From what? From who?" "Favour, let me explain. You said you were a businessman. Import-export. Shipping logistics." Her voice was rising now. "What kind of businessman needs a gun like that?" "The kind who operates in complicated spaces." "Complicated?" She backed toward the garage door. "That's what you're calling it?" "Please, just listen. Last night. At that restaurant. The way you handled Cola. The way you weren't afraid at all." Her eyes widened with horrified realization. "He knew your family. He knew exactly who you were." Joon-Ho said nothing, and his silence was confirmation enough. "You're one of them. It wasn't a question. You're Mafia. You're part of that world." "Yes." The word came out quiet but steady. "I am." The admission hit her like a physical blow. She actually staggered. "How long?" Her voice was barely audible. "How long have you been lying to me?" "I never lied." "Don't you dare." The scream tore out of her. "You let me believe you were safe. You let me fall for you, let Min-Jae into my heart, let me think I could have something good and clean. And the whole time you were." "I'm getting out," he said firmly. "I've been working on going completely legitimate." "That's the truth, Favour. That's what they all say." Tears streamed down her face. "My father said that. Every man in that life says they're getting out, they're going clean. And they never are. I'm not your father. But you're just like him. Her voice broke completely. You carry a gun. You have connections to violence. You know how to handle dangerous men because you are a dangerous man. Yes, I am dangerous. He stepped closer and she instinctively retreated. But not to you. Never to you or Min-Jae. Everything I do now is about building something better. I can't. She was sobbing now, years of trauma pouring out. I can't be part of that world again. I spent 5 years running from it. 5 years trying to wash the blood off my hands. I became a teacher to save children because I couldn't save that one little girl. I know about the girl, he said quietly. You told me. About your father making you watch. Making you participate. Then you understand why I can't do this. She gestured wildly between them. Why I can't be with someone from that life. I understand why you're scared. But Favour, I'm not asking you to go back to that world. I'm trying to leave it too. While carrying a gun. While maintaining connections and networks, she couldn't finish, couldn't breathe. Protection isn't the same as participation. That gun is insurance. Insurance against what? She wiped her eyes roughly. What kind of life requires that kind of insurance? He ran a hand through his hair, frustrated. A life I'm actively dismantling. I've been selling off operations, cutting ties, moving everything legitimate. For Min-Jae. For the future. For me. She laughed bitterly. Don't put that on me. That's not what I meant. I trusted you. Her voice went cold, dead. I told you things I've never told anyone. About that little girl. About my nightmares. And you were keeping this massive secret the whole time. Favour, please. I need you to stay away from me. She backed toward the exit. Stay away from my classroom. I'll request Min-Jae be transferred to another teacher. You can't mean that. I do. She was at the door now. I'm sorry I ever met you. Goodbye, Joon-Ho. Favour, wait. But she was already running to her car, tears blinding her. She heard him call her name but didn't stop. Just drove away as fast as she could, leaving him standing in his garage looking destroyed. She made it home on autopilot, stumbled inside, and collapsed on her floor. The sobs came from somewhere deep and primal. She'd been so stupid. Thinking she could have happiness. The knock came an hour later. 3 measured knocks, heavy with authority. She knew that knock. Had been dreading it since she'd fled that restaurant. With trembling hands, she opened the door. Chief Adeyemi stood there, imposing in an expensive burgundy agbada. 2 bodyguards flanked him. Hello, daughter, he said, his deep voice achingly familiar. He walked in without invitation, his men following. They filled her small apartment. He looked around slowly with obvious disdain. This is what you chose. This poverty. What do you want, Papa? For you to stop this foolishness and come home. Marry Kola. Take your place in the family. No. The merger with Kola's family is worth 200 million naira. You're my heir. My only child. This affects hundreds of people. Find another heir. His expression hardened. You don't have a choice. I'm not a child anymore. You can't control me. Can't I? He sat on her couch calmly, a predator certain of his power. I know about the Korean. Kim Joon-Ho. Seoul family. And I know about his son. Min-Jae. 7 years old. Sweet boy. Her blood turned to ice. Don't you dare. Then come home. Marry Kola. Or that little boy learns what happens when people interfere with my family. The door suddenly opened. Joon-Ho strode in, and the transformation was immediate. All warmth vanished, replaced by something cold and lethal. His eyes locked on Chief Adeyemi with predatory focus. I think the lady asked you to leave. Chief Adeyemi turned slowly, then smiled. Ah. Kim Joon-Ho. Seoul family. I've heard quite a bit about you. Then you know what I'm capable of. Joon-Ho's voice was dangerously quiet. I do. Which makes me wonder why you'd involve yourself in my family business. She's under my protection now. Chief Adeyemi actually laughed. Protection? From her own father. Fathers don't threaten their daughters. The air crackled with tension. Two dangerous men, neither backing down. Favour stood frozen, watching them. And suddenly she understood with perfect clarity, Joon-Ho was holding his own against her father. Standing toe-to-toe with Chief Adeyemi without flinching. Which meant everything he'd said was true. He really was part of that world. Really was Mafia. 1 week, daughter, Chief Adeyemi said, standing. Then I come for you. And anyone standing in my way will regret it. He looked at Joon-Ho. You're making a dangerous mistake, Korean. I've made worse. Chief Adeyemi left with his men, the door closing heavily behind them. Silence. Favour stared at Joon-Ho like she was seeing him for the first time. He knew your name. He knew your family. Her voice was hollow. He wasn't surprised you stood up to him. Favour. What are you really? Someone who can protect you. You're Mafia. You're dangerous. Everything I've been running from. Yes. He didn't deny it. But I'm also someone who loves you. Someone who will fight for you. Someone who won't let your father or Kola hurt you. How can I trust you? Tears spilled down her cheeks. How can I trust anything when you've been hiding this from me? Because when your father threatened Min-Jae, when he threatened you, I didn't hesitate. I came. His voice was intense. I will always come. Always protect you. That's not a lie. That's a promise. By being exactly what I ran from. No. By being what you need right now. Protection. Safety. Someone strong enough to stand between you and your father. I don't want protection from violence with more violence. Then what do you want? His voice rose slightly. To go back to him. To marry Kola. Because those are your options if I walk away. I want, her voice broke. I want you to have been who I thought you were. Safe. Clean. Good. I am trying to be good. But I can't just snap my fingers and erase my past any more than you can erase yours. It's not the same. Isn't it? He stepped closer. We're both running from violence. Both trying to build something better. Both terrified that our past will destroy our future. She wanted to argue, but the words wouldn't come. Pack a bag, he said quietly. Come stay at my house. I have security. High walls. Your father can't get to you there without starting a war. And if I say no? Then he takes you in a week. Forces you back. Makes you marry Kola. His eyes held hers. Is that what you want? She closed her eyes, trapped. You're saying I have to choose between you and him. I'm saying I'm offering you a choice. He's not. He waited. I know you don't trust me right now. I know I should have told you everything sooner. But Favour, I love you. And I will do whatever it takes to keep you safe. Even if you end up hating me for it. The words hung in the air. She looked at him, really looked at him. Saw the truth in his eyes. The fear. The determination. The love. Fine, she whispered finally. But I don't forgive you. And I don't trust you. I know. There was pain in his voice. But I'll earn it back. However long it takes. She packed a bag with shaking hands while he waited. Clothes, toiletries, a few books. The essentials of a life about to change irrevocably. When she was ready, he carried her bag to his car. The drive to his compound was silent, heavy with everything unresolved between them. Min-Jae was asleep when they arrived. Joon-Ho showed her to a guest room down the hall from his own. Beautiful. Comfortable. Safe. Everything except honest. Get some rest, he said at the door. We'll figure out next steps tomorrow. Joon-Ho. She stopped him as he turned to leave. Yes. Do you really love me? Or is this just about protecting your territory? He looked at her for a long moment. I really love you. More than I've loved anyone since Min-Jae's mother. That's the truth. How do I know what's true anymore? I don't know, he admitted. But I'm going to keep telling you until you believe it again. He left her alone. She sat on the bed in the dark, her mind spinning. She was living in a mafia boss's house. Protected by the very thing she'd spent 5 years running from. And despite everything, part of her still loved him. That was the worst part. Even knowing what he was, she still loved him. She cried herself to sleep that night, caught between fear and hope, between past and future. The next morning, she woke to voices downstairs. Joon-Ho on the phone, speaking rapid Korean. His tone was sharp, commanding. When she came downstairs, he ended the call quickly. Morning. Coffee? He gestured to a fresh pot. What was that about? Business. Moving up my timeline for going legitimate. Because of me? Because of us. He poured her coffee, black, 1 sugar. He already knew. I've been planning this transition for months. Your father's threat just accelerated it. Min-Jae bounded into the kitchen in pajamas. Auntie Favour. You're here. He ran to her, hugging her waist. Her heart broke a little. This innocent child, caught in the middle. Good morning, sweetheart. Are you staying forever now? She glanced at Joon-Ho, who looked apologetic. For a little while, she said carefully. Just until some grown-up things get sorted out. What kind of grown-up things? Boring stuff, Joon-Ho intervened smoothly. Hey, how about pancakes? While Joon-Ho cooked, Favour watched father and son interact. The ease between them. The love. The normalcy that felt impossible given what she now knew. After breakfast, Min-Jae went to play in the garden. Joon-Ho started cleaning up. We need to talk, she said. I know. About everything. About what happens next. He dried his hands, faced her. Ask me anything. No more secrets. How deep are you in that world? Deep enough that your father knows my name. Knows my family. Respects my territory. Territory. I control shipping routes. Container traffic through several West African ports. Some of it's completely legitimate. Some. He paused. Some operates in gray areas. Gray areas, she repeated flatly. I'm not a killer, Favour. I don't hurt people for fun. But I operate in spaces where violence is sometimes necessary for survival. The gun. Protection. Nothing more. I haven't fired it in 2 years. But you have fired it. He didn't deny it. She sat down heavily. This is insane. I'm living with a mafia boss. Falling in love with a mafia boss. You're falling in love with me? Hope flickered in his eyes. Don't. She held up a hand. Don't make this romantic. This is complicated and messy. But you feel it too. That doesn't make it right. They stared at each other across the kitchen. I can't promise you I'm completely clean, he said finally. Not yet. But I can promise I'm working toward it. Actively. Every deal I make now is legitimate. How long? 6 months. Maybe less. I'm selling off the questionable operations. It takes time, but it's happening. And in the meantime? In the meantime, I keep you safe from your father. From Kola. From anyone who tries to hurt you. With violence if necessary. With whatever is necessary. His voice was firm. I won't apologize for protecting you. She wanted to argue. But she'd grown up in that world. Knew sometimes it was the only language certain people understood. This is so messed up, she whispered. I know. The days passed in strange domesticity. She stayed in the guest room. Helped Min-Jae with homework. Cooked dinner with Joon-Ho. Pretended everything was normal while guards patrolled outside and her father's deadline approached. One night, unable to sleep, she found Joon-Ho in his office reviewing documents. Can't sleep, he asked without looking up. Too much in my head. She leaned against the doorframe. What are you working on? Selling my stake in a shipping company. The legitimate parts. The buyers are clean. And the not legitimate parts? Already sold to someone who can handle it better than I can. He finally looked at her. Every day I'm more legal than I was the day before. That's all I can promise. Why are you really doing this? I told you. For Min-Jae. For a better future. And for me? He set down his pen. Yes. For you. Because I want a life with you. A real one. Not one built on lies and violence. What if I can't get past what you are? Then I'll have lost the best thing that ever happened to me. His voice was raw. But I'll still get out. Still go clean. Because it's the right thing. She wanted to go to him. Wanted to close the distance. But fear held her back. Good night, Joon-Ho. Good night, Favour. 3 days before her father's deadline, one of Joon-Ho's men burst into the compound. Boss. We have a situation. Favour was in the living room with Min-Jae. Joon-Ho came running from his office. What happened? They took the boy. From school. 3 men. The world stopped. Favour's phone rang immediately. Unknown number. She answered with shaking hands. Hello, my bride. Kola's voice was smooth as poison. Looking for something precious? If you hurt him. That depends entirely on you. Come to me. Tonight. Midnight. Old warehouse on Warehouse Road near a Papaport. Come alone, or the boy pays. The line went dead. Favour couldn't breathe. Just stared at Joon-Ho in absolute horror. They took Min-Jae. His face went completely blank. Then something terrifying slid into place behind his eyes. Where? She told him. He was already moving, shouting orders, assembling his team. Men appeared from nowhere, weapons being distributed. Favour grabbed his arm. This is my fault. He's there because of me. No. Joon-Ho's voice was steel. He's there because Kola is a coward who uses children. But we're getting him back. Kola said alone. Kola can go to hell. He cupped her face. I'm not letting you walk into a trap. We go together. Understand? She nodded, unable to speak. This is it, Favour. The violence you hate. I'm about to become everything you fear. But it's the only way to save my son. Then do it, she whispered. Save him. Whatever it takes. Even if it means watching me be a monster. You're not a monster. You're a father. She gripped his shirt. And I love you. I've been too scared to say it, but I love you. So go get our boy back. Our boy. The words hit him like a physical blow. Say that again after you see what I'm capable of. If you still love me then, I'll know it's real. He kissed her hard, desperate, then pulled away. Stay here. No. She shook her head firmly. He's there because of me. I'm coming. Favour. I'm not arguing. That child is there because Kola wants me. I'm coming. He saw the determination in her eyes and knew arguing was pointless. Fine. But you stay behind me. Always. No matter what happens. They drove in a convoy toward the docks. The warehouse loomed against the night sky. Joon-Ho's men spread out, taking positions. He checked his weapon with practiced ease, then looked at her. Last chance to stay in the car. Not a chance. They approached the warehouse together. The main door was open, light spilling from inside. Min-Jae sat tied to a chair in the center, crying but seemingly unharmed. Relief flooded through Favour. Then Kola stepped from the shadows, gun in hand. Right on time. Though I said alone. He looked at Joon-Ho. Disappointing. Let him go. Favour stepped forward. Not until we reach an understanding. Kola smiled coldly. You come with me. Now. Tonight. We get married immediately. And maybe I let the boy live. Joon-Ho raised his weapon. Not happening. Then we have a problem. Kola pressed his gun to Min-Jae's head. The little boy whimpered, fresh tears streaming down his face. Favour's heart shattered. This was the nightmare. The trauma replaying. Another child terrorized because of her. Wait. She held up her hands. Don't hurt him. I'll come. I'll do whatever you want. No. Joon-Ho grabbed her arm. I have to. A new voice cut through the tension. That's enough. Chief Adeyemi walked in from a side entrance, his own weapon drawn. Everyone froze. Papa? Favour's voice was small, confused. You touched my grandson, Chief Adeyemi said to Kola, his voice ice cold. He's not your. Any child my daughter loves is my blood. Any child she protects is family. He aimed his gun at Kola. You crossed a line. The merger is cancelled. Chief Adeyemi's voice was final. You've shown me what kind of man you are. Someone who terrorizes children. That's not strength. That's weakness. Kola's face contorted with rage. You can't. I can. I am. It's done. Chief Adeyemi lowered his weapon slightly, looked at Favour. I've been a terrible father. Tears streamed down her face. I forced you into a life you never wanted. Made you watch things no child should see. Tried to break you into something you were never meant to be. His voice softened. Your mother, God rest her, would be ashamed of what I became. What I tried to make you become. Papa. She wanted you to be a teacher. Did you know that? Said you had a gift with children. I laughed at her. Said you were destined for greater things. He looked at Min-Jae, still tied and crying. But she was right. This, protecting children, loving them, fighting for them, this is greater than any empire I could build. Why now? Favour whispered. He looked at Joon-Ho. Because this man loves you enough to go to war for you. Because you love that child enough to sacrifice yourself. Because I finally see what your mother saw all along. You're not meant for our world. You're meant to save people from it. He turned to Kola. Leave. Now. Get out of Lagos. If I see you again, I won't be this generous. Kola's hand trembled on his weapon. For a moment, Favour thought he might do something stupid. Then he shoved Min-Jae's chair over and ran. The chair toppled. Min-Jae screamed. Joon-Ho lunged forward, catching it before it hit the concrete, his hands frantically working the ropes. Min-Jae threw himself into his father's arms, sobbing uncontrollably. "Daddy! I was so scared." "I know, buddy. I know. But you're safe now. I've got you." Joon-Ho's voice cracked. Favour dropped to her knees beside them, her hand on Min-Jae's back. The little boy reached for her too, and she pulled him into a fierce hug. "You came," he sobbed against her shoulder. "I knew you'd come. Always, sweetheart. Always. I'll always come for you." Chief Adeyemi watched them for a long moment, something like regret softening his features. "The marriage contract is void," he said. "The engagement is cancelled. You're free, Favour. Truly free." She looked up at her father through tears. "Thank you." He nodded once, then walked toward the exit. At the door, he paused. "Be happy, daughter. That's all your mother ever wanted for you. Be happy." Then he was gone, disappearing into the night. Favour collapsed against Joon-Ho, all three of them kneeling on the cold warehouse floor, holding each other. A family forged in fire and fear but held together by something stronger. Love. 6 months later, they stood on a beach in Santorini. White buildings tumbled down hillsides toward impossibly blue water. The sun hung low and golden, painting everything in warm light. Min-Jae ran ahead, chasing waves and laughing. He'd started calling Favour Amma 3 months ago. The first time, she'd cried for an hour. "Happy?" Joon-Ho asked, his arm around her waist. "More than I ever thought possible." His business was completely legitimate now. They'd left Nigeria 2 months ago, settled in Seoul where Min-Jae was thriving. Favour taught at an international school. English and literature. Helping children from all over the world adjust to new lives. She'd found her purpose. Her peace. "Min-Jae asked me something this morning," Joon-Ho said casually. "What?" "When we're getting married." She stopped walking, turned to face him. "What did you tell him?" He pulled a small box from his pocket. Opened it to reveal a simple, elegant ring. "I said I had to ask you first." Her eyes filled with tears. "Happy ones this time." "Favour, I know the journey here was messy. I know I should have been honest sooner. I know there are things in my past I can't erase." He took her hand. "But I love you. I want to build a life with you. A real one. A good one. Will you marry me?" She thought about everything they'd been through. The lies. The fear. The violence. But she also thought about the way he loved his son. The way he'd stood up to her father. The way he'd changed his entire life to be worthy of hers. "Yes," she whispered. 1,000 times yes. He slipped the ring on her finger and kissed her as the sun painted the sky in shades of gold and pink. Min-Jae ran back, saw them kissing, and made exaggerated gagging sounds. "Gross." They laughed, pulling him into a hug. "Does this mean Amma is staying forever?" he asked, suddenly serious. "Forever and ever," Favour promised. "I'm not going anywhere." They stood there together, the three of them, overlooking the sea. A family built from broken pieces but somehow complete. Favour had spent 5 years running from her past. 5 years convinced that violence was all she deserved, that happiness wasn't meant for people like her. She'd been wrong. Sometimes the past isn't what destroys you. Sometimes it's what teaches you exactly how strong you need to be. Sometimes it's what shows you what's worth fighting for. And sometimes, love is messy and complicated and born from impossible circumstances. But it's still love. Still worth it. Still worth everything. She looked at Joon-Ho, at Min-Jae, at the future stretching ahead of them bright and clean and full of possibility. "Thank you," she whispered. "For what?" For not giving up on me. For fighting for me. For showing me what real love looks like. He kissed her forehead softly. Thank you for giving me a chance. For believing I could be better. For loving my son like he's your own. He is my own, she said simply. You both are. My family. Min-Jae tugged on their hands impatiently. Come on. I want to build a sandcastle before the sun goes down. They followed him down to the water's edge, laughing. Favour knelt beside him, helping shape the walls while Joon-Ho collected shells for decoration. The scene was so perfectly normal, so beautifully ordinary. This was what she'd been running toward all along. Not just running from violence, but running toward peace. Toward love. Toward a family she could protect instead of one that demanded she become a monster. Look, Amma. Min-Jae held up a perfect spiral shell. This can be the tower. It's perfect, sweetheart. Absolutely perfect. As the sun began to set, painting the sky in impossible shades of orange and purple, they sat together on the sand. Min-Jae between them, chattering about all the things he wanted to do tomorrow. I love you both so much, Favour said suddenly. Min-Jae threw his arms around her neck. I love you too, Amma. More than video games. More than ice cream. Joon-Ho laughed. That's serious love, right there. What about you, Dad? Do you love Amma more than ice cream? I love her more than anything in the world, Joon-Ho said, his eyes on Favour. More than I thought I could love anyone after your mother died. She saved us, Min-Jae. She saved our whole family. We saved each other, Favour corrected softly. All three of us. The sky darkened, stars beginning to appear. Other tourists walked past, some stopping to admire the sandcastle. An elderly couple smiled at them, saying something in Greek that sounded warm. I think she's saying you're a beautiful family, a passing waiter translated. Thank you, Favour said, her heart full. We are. They stayed on the beach until Min-Jae started yawning. Joon-Ho lifted him gently, the boy wrapping his arms around his father's neck without fully waking. They walked back to their hotel, a beautiful white building clinging to the cliffside. After they'd tucked Min-Jae into bed, they stood on their balcony in the warm night air. I keep thinking this is a dream, Favour admitted. That I'll wake up and none of this will be real. It's real. He pulled her closer. We're real. This family is real. They kissed under the stars, the sound of the sea below them. She'd spent 5 years running from her past. But she wasn't running anymore. She was finally, truly home. And home wasn't a place. It wasn't a country or a city. Home was standing on a beach in Greece with a man who'd walked through fire for her and a child who called her mother. Home was love that refused to die, even when the whole world tried to kill it. Home was right here. Right now. This moment. This perfect, beautiful, ordinary moment that was worth everything. If this story touched your heart, hit that subscribe button right now. Drop a comment telling me which moment got you the most. And smash that like button because stories like this need to be shared. Thank you for being here. See you in the next one.